Hello, everybody, and a warm welcome to our webinar, Millpark Education's webinar on our postgraduate diploma in accounting. It is wonderful to be with you all. We are very, very excited by the nice turnout that we have, and we're also very, very excited to have a wonderful lineup with everybody that you see on screen here with me. So if I can introduce them to you. Let me start by introducing myself. I'm Jonathan Dillon, head of the School of Professional Accounting. And then with me, from an academic perspective, is Tracy Krause, our head of department for the postgraduate department, also known as CA Connect, where the PGA fits in. Rian Mabuta is our subject head for taxation. And then we've got Nozipo and Corsi with us. She is a student support and development advisor. I think her camera will come right now. And then we have the stars of the show, who we're very proud and excited to have with us. It's three of our students. Two are current students with us. So we got Chiamo with us. She's currently in our PGDA cohort, who started at the beginning of the year. We've got Botlale with us, also currently studying PGDA with us. And then we've got Kieran, who's with us. And Kieran has already conquered the PGDA, recently conquered the PGDA. And Kieran, you're writing RTC next week, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Big challenge. So excited for that for you as well. But I'm sure a lot of those who are watching are actually going to hear from you as well, because you are the side of PGDA. You've conquered PGDA. And we're going to reserve that for a little later. But we do want to hear from you a little bit more later. So we have an online postgraduate diploma in accounting, also known as a CTA. We are very proud of the program we have. We know it's a quality program. We have a lot of staff who are dedicated to not only ensuring that there's a good curriculum for our students, but we have a lot of staff who are dedicated to supporting our students. And I'm very proud of our staff as well, because we are a team, I'd say, who are very passionate about what we do and who love supporting our students with the end goal of ensuring that our students have the knowledge that they need, but not only the knowledge that they need, the skills, acumens that they need for success in life beyond as a chartered accountant. So we don't only prepare students for the board exam. I'm sure Chiamo, Botlale, and Kieran would agree that it's not just about the knowledge in that, but it's also about developing the skills that are needed for success in life beyond PGDA. So I think it's important at the outset that I just mentioned that our PGDA was crafted as well, specifically as an online PGDA, to actually help those students who are time constrained and ensuring that whatever is needed and important for success and critical to get them through RTC and ensure that they're successful in life beyond as a lifelong learner, etc., is covered in our PGDA. So we're actually happy to say that our PGDA doesn't come with rabbit holes and bells and whistles to cover things that we may think are fun to cover just for the sake of covering it. We want to cover what is needed for you on your journey when journeying from your BCom through to where you need to be ready to write RTC. So that's a little intro. So what I'd like to start with now, if I can pull in Tracy Krause, our HOD, because one of the things of our PGDA is that it is flexible. So flexible is an interesting word. Often when somebody applies for a flexible job, they think it's a lacquer job because you have to work less than you need to if it's a non-flexible job. Eh? So do you maybe want to just tell us a little bit about the flexibility of the program, Trace?
Cool. I'm happy to, Jonathan. Thanks very much for joining us this evening, everyone. It's wonderful to all be together. Yeah, so when we designed the program, we really did want to make it accessible to people with varying needs, bearing in mind that there are many people who do study full time and are able to study full time when doing their PGDA, but there are a lot of students who have other responsibilities. That might be work commitments, whether you are working full time or part time while you're completing your PGDA. It might be other kinds of commitments, like professional sports people, people who are caring for families, parents who have children. It can be a wide range of commitments that people may have while they're trying to attend the PGDA. And so we really designed this program with the hopes that anyone in any life situation would be able to craft it and fit it into their current life situation and be able to engage with it. Now, the PGDA is a difficult and grueling program, and there's nothing we can do to change that. We can't take the hard out of PGDA, as I often tell the students. And so if you are going to be attempting the PGDA in a single year with us, you do need to be able to find 40 hours in a week on a consistent basis to engage with the program. The thing is, we don't tell you which 40 hours those are. So those aren't necessarily during the day or in the evening or on the weekend. But if you can find that time, then you can give it to the program, and the program is accessible to you and available to you in whatever time slot works for you. So that might be evenings, that might be mornings, that might be time of the weekend and some early morning, something, whatever you can put together. But if you can get those 40 hours, you can do the program. It's ready. The content is there for you. You can digest it in the time frame that is best for you. If 40 hours is a lot of time, and let's be honest, it is a lot of time for most people, then there is the option to take on the half workload program. Now, the reason that we crafted the half workload program is purely for an hours-based, an hours-based assessment. If you have other commitments, and finding an additional 40 hours to commit to PGDA every week for a whole year is quite a lot and it's unsustainable for you, then we've got the half workload option. And what that does, it allows you to engage with the PGDA program at only 20 hours per week. That's a lot more sustainable and a lot more accessible for many people, particularly if you have other full-time commitments. Perhaps you're a parent as well, you've got aging parents you're caring for. And if you want to be able to engage in this journey, you can do so now over 2 years instead of one, but at a pace that is a lot more sustainable and flexible for you. Again, those 20 hours would be any 20 hours that you can find in in your week, whether that's evenings, mornings, weekend, during the day, whatever works for you, because the program is there and it's available to be tailored to your lifestyle, your schedule. You just need to find the time. Does that help, JD? Anything else you wanted me to touch on there?
No, I think that's great, and I'm pretty sure that Chiamo, Botlale, Kieran resonate with the fact that the program is flexible. So, Kieran, maybe to you, like how did the
Yeah, I mean, I
flexibility
can.
fit into your journey?
Yeah, so I mean, I think I really benefited from the flexibility when I was doing the bridging course, because I did that while I was doing my articles full time, and I did it on the half workload. So for everyone out there who's doing articles, they know that time is your most precious resource, and it's for me personally as well. Like the method of delivery of the content was also very beneficial, because what it allowed me to do was take little 20-minute, 30-minute chunks out of the day where I could actually get something done during something important done. Also, like, I struggle to sit for an extended period of time, and like, I think I'm on like the ADHD spectrum somewhere, and traditional lectures never really worked for me, and I would always lose focus. Whereas this allowed me to spend like 40 minutes, and that 40 minutes was, quality time, whether that be like before work, at lunch, or after work. So yeah, that was what I found quite helpful.
If I can just jump in there, JD, and point out, take the
Yeah.
opportunity to point out that, Kieran, I think everyone is aware that you finished top of the PGDA class. Congratulations. And I just want to stress that he did half workload. It's not an academic decision. Some students believe that we offer half workload to students who maybe are academically weak, and that's not at all the case. A number of our strongest students have chosen to do half workload. It is about the time you have available. So just to think about it through the right framework, it's about the flexibility and the time that you have to give, whether you're deciding to do full workload or half workload, not about academic strength.
So well said, and I'm glad you made that point. The last thing you would want to do as a prospective student is to make a decision to take on more than you're capable of, because the end result of that is just you're blowing up along the line. The likely result is you're blowing up along the line, and then there could be time wasted. Kieran, you made the point that time is one of our most precious resources, and you want to, your starting point, back to what you were saying, Trace, is how much time do you have available? Honestly, you've got to be honest with yourself. How much time do you have available that you can commit to the program and make a decision from that perspective? I often refer to this thing that you can't go to an ATM to draw time. There's unfortunately no ATM. It is a limiting factor, and for any of you that have, which most of you probably have somewhere in your journey done management, accounting, and finance, you'll know that limiting factors are important, and they result in relevant costs and opportunity costs. Okay, enough of that. So flexibility is one aspect, which is an important and I believe a value-adding aspect of our program. If we then look at support, which we really, really value, and we put a lot of thinking into our support options in terms of what is best for our students, and we put a lot of resourcing into it as well. A lot of what our full-time academic staff actually do is focus on the support domain as well. So I'd like to start, Rian, if we can go to you. From an academic perspective, we've got live sessions, we've got consults, etc., that students can access. And from your perspective as an academic, support options for the students that work for them.
Yeah, no, thanks for that, JD. Hello, everybody. Good to see you all online. It's always great, speaking, and hearing from, firstly, students that have been successful in the PGDA, and that students that are in the PGDA and hearing their secrets of success. And, damn sorry, I'm just like sitting and thinking about how I wish, I had this when I was a student, back in the day. Tracy and I studied together, so let's not give away our ages here, but, there wasn't this opportunity to learn the tricks of the trade, from people. So it's always great to have these opportunities and these moments to share with each other. So I mean, if you are here, make sure you ask some good questions and get the best insights from Kieran, Natalia, and Siamo in terms of what worked for them in terms of their journeys. JD, I think in terms of the question that you've asked me about support, I think first and foremost is that, I mean, I come from a traditional, residential university. And so one thinks about, Molpark, CA Connect, and one thinks this is, an online program, and, the material sort of delivered, and off you go, and you just sort of work through the material, and there's no sort of interaction, and you're left to your own devices, not literally, but figuratively in this regard, at least. But that's not, what our intention is, and that's not what the aim is of our particular program. It might be an online program, but we never want students to feel distant in this particular program. And so therefore, a key part of our course design or program design is that students must feel connected, that students must feel supported, okay, and that students must feel genuinely cared for, at least in terms of the various support options, at least. And so if we use that then as a framework to say, what then does support look like, and what are the various options? Well, there are a number of options, okay, and again, which speaks to Tracy and Kieran's points about, like, you know, these options. It's also about flexibility and deciding what works for you. So nothing's prescriptive, you know, there's no lecture theatre that you've got to go to, you know, nobody's taking a register. What works for you? What does time allow you to engage in, and how best are you going to use that time? So if I look at those options, I mean, we've got weekly live sessions that we offer students, and those are weekly live sessions. I want to say, first and foremost, it's not a lecture, first and foremost, is because the material is delivered in an online format, but it's an opportunity for, you know, students and academics to come together, to connect with each other, you know, to support each other, for academics to provide some guidance, you know, some structure to students in terms of the academic content, and really to engage in, you know, stuff that students are struggling with on the one end of the spectrum, but also stuff that, you know, the academic team knows students are not struggling with, or not yet struggling with, and might struggle with. And so, you know, how do we sort of, you know, put students on the front foot to ensure their particular success? And so those live sessions takes place, you know, across the four subject areas at 12:30 and 5:30, and that again speaks to the flexibility. You know, do you want to attend those live sessions at lunchtime, or do you want to attend those live sessions, you know, after work? What works best for you in this regard? Recognizing also there's a limitation of time. You know, it's a 12:30, 5:30, it's an hour, you know, so you can attend it during lunchtime, or, you know, an hour just before supper, so that you have time to engage with your family, at least in that regard. Next up, in terms of our support options, we offer, you know, students the ability to consult as well. So this isn't just you like left to your own devices. You know, if, you know, a question hasn't been answered in a live session, well, there's an opportunity to set up some time to come and chat to the members of the academic team, and really unpack what your issues are. You know, and that sort of takes me back to the days of, like, you know, students just coming in, sitting in you know, offices and having a chat, and often that's actually what students do. You know, they might not have a question on the technical content, but it's just that opportunity again to feel connected, you know, to feel supported, and to feel cared for, at least in this regard. I mean, we also have what we term sort of, you know, our virtual campus, which is Viva Engage, which is a Microsoft platform. You know, it's akin to, you know, you sort of like having a conversation with your friends, your mates, just, you know, outside the lecture theatre. It's your opportunity to ask questions. Sometimes your fellow classmates will answer the question, or, you know, as the academic team, you know, we'll step in and we'll, you know, ask the questions as well. Also, then finally, I mean, if Viva Engage, which is a public platform, doesn't work for you as well, you have the ability, you know, to email us as well, and to ask your questions via email in this regard. And so, again, speaks to the point is that there are this, like, variety of methods and mechanisms in which we provide academic support, at least to students. Again, that students will feel that, like, you know, genuine connections with each other. I mean, I came online earlier on, and Buklari said to me, oh, here's one of my lecturers, you know, but we're still feeling connected with each other, you know, might be sitting in different cities, in different provinces, you know, different countries, at least in this regard. But, you know, our philosophy holds true to what we do, at least in Mill Park. But I mean, you know, I'll throw it back to, you know, the current students, and, you know, how they feel supported, at least, JD. That's from me.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love the fact that there's the ability for students to privately or publicly ask questions, and then also to ask questions real time, like in a live session, get the answer, or in a delayed way where it's via email. But even if it's in a delayed way, we undertake to always try and get back to our students within 24 hours. So it's not delayed in the sense of delayed, like you're really waiting for an answer.
Correct.
So
I mean, your email's not going to go down into a black hole, and we're never going to respond to you. You know, we aim to respond to students, you know, within, you know, 24 hours working day time, at least in that regard. You know, because we recognize the fact is, and Jody, you've made this point, is time is precious, you know, and we never want to hold the student back on their learning journey in this regard. You know, if there's a little bit of delay, we'll let you know in that regard. But, as best as possible, we want to ensure that students are moving in the right direction and moving forward always in this regard, at least.
Yeah. I was wondering, maybe Botlale, do you want to come in here and you're a current student with us. You started February, so you're still pretty fresh. You've just recently gotten test 2 results, if I'm right, eh?
Yes, I just currently got test 2.
Great. So you're basically halfway on your journey with us. And how have you found the support that you've had on our program?
I think the support that Mopark offers it's very good. I just want to also go back to the structure in a sense because I think that the structure also plays a role in Mopark really understands its students to say we're not just giving you content, but here's the content. Next week, let's get together, let's discuss. You don't feel alone because when you're doing distance learning, it's very easy to feel alone. And I've also completed an undergrad, so I understand that when it comes to academics, you can't do this alone. You need that support. You need the support of your fellow students. You need the support of your lecturers. So the fact that they have that platform where you can ask questions and engage with each other, it's very helpful, and you don't feel as if you're on this journey alone. Even after tests, we get feedback to say, this is what happened. How are we going to move going forward? Yes, maybe it didn't go well, but here are people who've managed to pass. It's possible. So there's a lot of support in that sense.
Yeah, and I mean, if I
That's
could
great.
also just jump in there.
Please do.
Just a quick one. Something that I found really, really helpful was, when other students have queries around specific topics and specifically around like certain questions, and you're almost able to look at a question with someone else's set of eyes, and it makes you think about a topic in a different way. Which I found that a lot of my learning came from this person had asked a certain question, and I thought to myself, well, you know what, I didn't even think about it from that perspective, and it really solidifies your base of knowledge around. You start thinking of problems from all different angles, which is what I really think is different between your undergrad and PGDA.
No, that's great. I was what you're referencing there is our Viva Engage platform, where it's a public platform. It's like social media, and a question is posted on something. Kieran, you must know that everybody watching this is listening to every single word you're saying, because you have conquered the beast of PGA, and you are the top student in our most recent cohort. So if that's what you did, I'm pretty sure everybody listening here that comes to study with us is going to be doing that. So. But it's a great thing to do, because if you see Botlale asks a question, Tiamo, you see it, you think about it, you ponder. Sometimes, actually oftentimes, students are answering students in these public platforms. Not always the lecturer needs to come in. So there's peer learning that happens and support, which is great. Very, very, very cool.
Yes, JD, I can attest to that. That Viva Engage is a very useful platform. There's no stupid question in Viva Engage. That's what I learned. Because you might be having some questions, but when you go through Viva Engage and go to the specific topic that we have question about, you can learn even more than what you wanted to learn. So it's a very useful platform for us, and we should use it as students.
No, that's great. The one thing we do say to students, go, Frederian, and I'll feed in.
Yeah, no, but I mean, I think sort of, Kieran and Tiamo's, you're making valid points here, is that, in creating this particular spaces, we're creating a community of like-minded individuals coming together, wanting to see each other becoming, chartered accountants in this regard. And that academic space is not alone held by the academics in this regard, and that students and the academics can both make a contribution to the particular learning journey in this regard. And it's, you know, often the case is, I mean, as an academic sitting on the other side, it is often great, you know, one sees, you know, another student has in actual fact gone through the process of one answering the question, but also on the other hand, providing advice and guidance to, you know, to students in terms of how they've approached it, what their thoughts has been, you know, and then students then continuing with, you know, a trail of discussions just in terms of what that learning has been. So, I mean, it's sort of like, you know, nobody owns the academic, you know, primacy here. Ultimately, everybody's got a role to play. And that is the brilliant thing about Be Engage, at least. Sorry, but
it is. No, and it's like lifelong skills. It's the ability to actually risk it sometimes and be brave, because we want our students to be confident. We want them to be brave, and sometimes you've got to risk it answering somebody else's question, because what if you're actually wrong? Because sometimes it's like overcoming fear, right? There's this fear of like, if I answer and what if somebody says it's wrong, and then you actually hold back. But you actually got to be brave, and these are the types of things that we have in our program as well. The one thing I was also thinking of, and Tracy, I know you do a great job in this, that I think really is value adding on our program, and that is like a program level layer of communication and support that there is. So it's not only the siloed support in the subjects that there are, which is great support in terms of the subjects, but what Lale, you touched on, it made me think of it, where you said there's feedback after test. There's feedback from subjects on each test, but there's also, let's talk together about test 2 at this point in time, for example, on your PGA journey, and we hear from students previously that were successful and that were at the same point, giving advice, whether you're on a high or low at that point, and just connecting. And then I think that where we can go from here, I want to bring Nozi. Nozi, you've been patiently quiet, waiting in the wing.
Yes.
So
I wanted to add, JD, that
you know what the wing is as well? The wing, you catch the ball, you run, and then you score in the corner. So come in. The ball's in your hands now,
so
Nozi.
I love what Rian said about we are trying to create this community although it's online, but we want students to feel less isolated and more of a community. And in our space, in the support team, we offer different ways to create that community. We have drop-in sessions where it's not a live session, an academic live session, but it's a session where students from different intakes come in and share the experiences of being in the program, and they share tips on how to study and how to support each other. So I absolutely love how intentional Millpark was in creating not just the academic component, but the other skills as well. Students complete their program and they have built resilience. They learned how to work under pressure, and which they can use when they get the certification. So absolutely love it.
Fantastic. Yeah, those drop-in sessions are pretty cool. And, you know, even you spoke around about consults that students can book, and you can be specific when booking consults. Do I want to book a tax consult or an auditing, or do I want to book a consult with Nozi because I actually want to talk to Nozi about some things? So, yeah, we try and offer as best possible holistic support, because we know that this PGA journey, it's sometimes as much a mental confidence, perseverance battle as it is just, you know, studying the 1 + 1 = 2 at the same time. Nozi, tell us a bit more about the other initiatives that you have in your domain as student support and development advisors. Not only you're a team of a few. And tell us some of the initiatives that you have. 3, that's right, trio.
Thank you so much, Jay. We provide the psychosocial aspect, like you said. The PGDA is also a mind game. Some students come in if they've attempted it twice or 3 times already. So that self-doubt sometimes creeps in, and that's where we come in. We provide live sessions on how to manage your anxiety during the exams, because that can be also quite daunting. And like I said, we have the drop-in sessions from our end. We have the consults, because we understand that your learning journey is not the same, or Buhlale's learning journey is not the same as Tiamo's. And we provide that consult where we talk about issues that are uniquely to you, and we can best assist you with a time management plan or any other issues, psychosocial issues that you might have. And what I
think we is Nazi connectivity a little bit. Okay. We're eagerly waiting for Nazi just to restore connectivity. It's Yamo, Botlale, Kieran. Did any of you guys attend the drop-in sessions, mentorship, make use of that and find it beneficial on the program?
Yes, I do attend drop-in session, JD. It's a very good platform, and it's a platform that most of the students are not using currently. And I don't call it a drop-in session. I call it a vent session. It's our vent room, because the sessions are not recorded. We can talk about anything. We can talk about our emotions freely. We can even discuss you as our lecturers. That's one thing good about the drop-in session. It's more like heart-to-heart conversations with other students. And that's where we get advices, study tips. You learn that you are not alone in the journey. And you learn that you are not the first person to go through what you're going through in PGDA. And it kind of put you in a position where whenever you hear somebody talking about, I'm doing this for the third time, and it kind of gives you the motivation to say, if somebody is coming back for the third time, clearly it means it's the resilience that we need to build as students. So it's really helpful, and it's a pick-me-up session. There's no way you will attend the drop-in session and come out the same. If you want to cry, you can cry. Nobody will judge you in that session. That's where we vent, that's where we cry, that's where we laugh, that's where we build character, most importantly.
Wonderful.
And that's where we learn the communication skills.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Great. I see Nazi is with us. Thanks for sharing, Shyamo. And it's also offering these things that it's not necessarily that everybody needs that, but many do need it, and it's good. So live sessions are the same. The weekly live sessions, Rian, that you mentioned, they're voluntary. It's not compulsory. It's if you want to connect with other students, if you want to chat about the topic from the past week and connect, but you don't have to. Everything that you need for success on the program is there in the learning management system on Canvas, and you can access when you want it and prepare for your assessments. The only thing that's not flexible is your assessment, because you need to be assessed and right, just like your ITC is not flexible. Yeah. Nazi,
I just want to add that. Sorry,
ahead.
I just want to add that what I also like is that we can also write physically. We don't have to write online, because some of us, we need to write, we need to highlight, so that's also another option, to write physically at venues. So I really like that about Milpark.
Good point, Botlale. So there's flexibility as with the Rualfa. I mean, you can write online if you'd like to. We do find that it's close to, I was looking at some stats just the other day, and it's about 70% of our students actually choose to write in venues. COVID was a bit different, and coming out of COVID, a lot of our students were writing online, but the trend has definitely been towards more and more writing in venues. And we do offer venues throughout the country. We've got more than 40 venues throughout the country, so you can choose a venue closest to you. Nazi, I think you're back with us. You almost scored your try, but you're still running. You got the ball. And we had some input from Tiamo on just how she's been enjoying the weekly drop-in sessions. She called them vent sessions, though, not drop-in sessions. But do you want to feed in on anything else in your domain, Nazi? A mentorship program that you have as well, that you guys run? You're on mute, so just check there. We'll get you to score your try now. This is like playing in the rain, where the ball's just slipping and you're fumbling, and that. Again, Nadia, as soon as you're back with us and we can hear you, we can get back. But just highlights, we do have a mentorship program. Jamo, Botlale, Kieran, any of you guys use the mentorship program?
Yes, JD, I'm using the mentorship program. It's a very nice program because you have somebody who has walked the journey that you are in now, who understand the process, who will hold you by your hand, and firmly so. You know, that person is not your friend, he's your mentor, but you can discuss anything under the sun. Before I joined the mentorship program, I thought maybe I'm restricted only to the 4 subjects that I'm doing. But we have built a relationship with my mentor that I can even drop her an SMS just to tell her how I feel. Sometimes I keep quiet, and when I'm quiet, she knows that it means I'm okay. The test results came out. She was the first person that I sent an SMS to.
Wonderful. So that's a special relationship.
Yes, and she responded and said, we need to meet on Friday. So the support that we get in for mentorship program, I can say that it's a good support and it's well appreciated.
That's really, really wonderful to hear. I'm glad. Yeah, and again, that's something that it's not compulsory. You don't have to. But it's one from both ends as well, because those who are mentors, they are graduates of ours who don't get paid anything, who just want to give back. They've been through the journey and they know how important for them it was also to have support, get advice, etc., and they want to give back. And we just have this continuous, call it a ecosystem that's self-sustaining. That we have mentors that give back. So I'm really, really great to hear that you're enjoying it and benefiting from it. So that's on the support, the non-academic support front.
JD, sorry, if I can also just add here as well in terms of the support, and maybe it's sort of like latching on to what Nazia had started saying earlier on. And I think, often it's the case is there's no doubt that as part of, what we do on our program is that we do the academic stuff. Our program is designed, to meet the requirements of the psychocompetency framework that allows students, to successfully, complete the ITC. That's the thing. But often what we find is, and it's been our engagement with students is that, all of us have the ability to become, chartered accountants, to do this PGDA, But what's happened along the way is that a little bit of extra support, help and guidance is required on that particular journey, at least in this regard. And what's good, at least about the intentional design of our program is that our program isn't only focused on that academic support and the sort of like stick approach of these 4 courses and 4 subjects, and you've got to write the assessments, you've got to pass the assessments, but recognizing also the students to be successful in this particular program in actual fact requires you to have both the technical acumen, but also, and speaks to latching onto Tiama's points, those enabling competencies and and those soft skills also that is required for the profession as well. And that's a key part of that support that the SASDA is providing. I mean, it's not very often that would find that within an actual accounting department, largely geared towards a PGDA program, that you've got, 3, psychologists, there to assist students to be successful. I mean, just like, let's just allow that to resonate with us, and recognizing the fact that, for students to be successful, okay, it requires a wraparound support and not only, a clear case of, academic support alone. Yes, academic support is vital as well, but there's also recognition that's, as Tiama said, students sometimes need to cry, they sometimes need to vent, we're all human in this regard, and I think that's where, our program has been quite intentional, and in providing students with that level of support. No, I thought I'd just come in there at least while we're, waiting on Nazi.
Yeah, no, that's a great add-on, and you even made the point earlier that this connectedness thing, it came through, and we want students to feel connected, we want them to feel supported, and we often say we're an online, but contact in inverted commas, university. We're online content. We don't want to just be that thing of online and you don't feel a realness to us and you don't feel supported. We want you to feel that.
And I mean, it's this case as well. I've had a look at some of the chats, and so some students have asked, Kiran, share me, your study timetable. How did you do it, at least, But the good thing is that one is, we've got versions of student study timetables that we make, that we provide you. But there's also the ability for you to, sort of use the SSDAs as a leveraging point in terms of, well, this is what I've designed. Does it make sense? Does it not make sense? As well, not that doesn't know much about, the Income Tax Act, but can at least, provide you with advice, about life in general, I'll sort of say is that, all answers lie in the joys of the Income Tax Act, and Tracy will say all answers lie in the IFRS standards, but, they don't always lie there, let's be real.
True. And Nazi will also be fielding vents about maybe yourself or me or some subjects in that, so in a session.
Yes, JD.
Nazi,
can you guys
there
hear
we go.
me?
You're back with us. Yes, we can hear you.
Yay.
Wonderful.
Thank you so much. Yes, absolutely. I'm not a CA myself. I'm more in the psychology field, but because everything of you runs in your mental health and your mind, PGDA is really a mind game as well. It's really about you managing your anxiety, your confidence, and also the academic component. So it's very important to tie in the two and create this all-round CA of the future.
Right. Thank you. I'm glad we got to hear from you. You have scored your trial. Well done, Nazi. Fantastic. At this juncture, we touched just now on structure. So I just want to bring Kieran in here, because Kieran, I know you mentioned to me that one of your big things was structure, and how did that help you be successful? And it can maybe feed into a little bit of what helped you to be so successful.
Yeah, thanks, JD. So I think it was, I'd attempted CTA twice before through distance learning, and one of the things that I always found quite difficult was that I would get overwhelmed quite quickly, to the extent that in both of my attempts, I actually just, before the end of the year came, I actually just gave up. And there was a lot of anxiety around where I need to focus my attention, because it's the difference between PGDA and undergrad is just, for me, it was just the volume of content that you need to get through. So I really felt like what works well at Millpark is that, they've got it's very structured, the way that you go through your lessons. You know, the different degrees of difficulties in various subjects. You know, the knowledge gets built up tiny bit by tiny bit, which is what makes it, at the end of the day, you know, you don't actually feel yourself progressing much, but then you look back over the last 3 months and you realize, like, oh, like, you know, this is something that I was really struggling with. Now, like, you know, I actually feel kind of okay with it. So it's just, you know, it really helps to calm you and to say, okay, cool, tomorrow I've got 3 hours where I can study. This is how I'm going to spend my time. You know, you don't waste any time figuring out what to do, which is the main thing that I found helpful. And it's also it's quality studying time. You know, I know I'm speaking badly about like sitting in a lecture for hours, but like I can remember days sitting in a 3-hour lecture and just like wondering what I was doing with my life, you know. So this is different.
100%. That's great. Yeah, there's a question in the chat about whether you said you're working while doing the bridging course, and then were you also working when doing PGDA?
So I finished my articles it's kind of the same time that I finished the bridging course. So I was able to take on something a lot less stressful and a lot more flexible. So I was basically just doing bookkeeping for a friend of mine while I did PGDA, and that's basically how I managed to knock it out in 1 year. Yeah.
Okay, so back to our previous point of, like, you realized you didn't have enough time to do full-time PGDA, so you accommodated your life to make more time for PGDA. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I
not everybody can do.
I think it could have been a possibility. I just had the opportunity and I took it. So, yeah.
But Lale, Tiamo, are you guys doing full workload or half workload with us?
I'm doing full workload and I'm also serving my articles.
Okay, so how much luxury time do you have in your life, Butlala, and how are you finding doing full workload with us? Wow.
For me, I think the fact that I'm doing my articles is very beneficial because I'm surrounded with people who have done CTA or are also doing CTA. So they've also they're also holding my hand throughout this journey. So even last year when I was like, okay, I'm doing CTA this year, guys, please tell me about CTA. What's going on? Why are people so scared of CTA? So that's also helping me, and I'm in auditing, so I'm actually doing auditing. So it also helps in terms of auditing actually the module in itself. So I have a study buddy, and he's done CTA, so he has all the knowledge, like he's gone through the journey, so he's holding my hand and we hold each other accountable. And one thing I've noticed is that there's a lot of, it's not just studying, there's also a lot of admin when it comes to studying. You need to do a study timetable. I have a study timetable, I have a study tracker. I just want to know where am I at this point, because it's very easy to get overwhelmed. So when you know where you are, it just calms you down a little bit. So yeah, I have all of that in place to help me. It's difficult, but yeah, we just push through. We just push through.
Yeah, it's difficult, but it's not impossible, right? And I think that's what
Definitely.
what you can't. And you may have that at the beginning, and like sometimes that happens. You've got all of this, like, I can do this, and you believe, and then a tough time hits, or there's a hiccup with the module or a test or something, and that's where you need this connected, supportive environment where people who have already walked the journey or understanding what you're going through, just to keep telling you and reminding you that you can do this, you can do this. Like one one blip, or failing a test here or there. I often used to say to students, like, it doesn't matter. What matters is, have you learned from it? because maybe you just bumped your head harder than somebody else who passed the test. But if you take that bump seriously and you learn from it, well, then you're not going to bump it again, and you're going to be stronger going forward. And if you've got that positive mindset the whole time, it just helps. And that's great.
Absolutely,
Thank you for sharing.
JD. What you spoke about there, often after each test, we reflect a lot in our drop-in sessions about what worked and what didn't work. How can we change it? So it's the monitoring and evaluation from our end to the student is ongoing, and we're always trying to change or adapt the approach here and there so that obviously you succeed within the program.
Yamo?
Okay, to add on
I saw
what
you
Ale
chuckling.
said.
You were like chuckling. You were laughing when I said, "Hey, how much luxury time do you have?"
I'm on a full workload, and I'm a full-time employee in the mining sector. Yeah, I work for a very small department, and I'm in production. So people in production, they don't understand much. They are engineers. They don't understand much about accounting. So I teach them a lot. So I make it interesting to them. I revise with them. So every time when I get somebody in the corridor after I've studied something, I'll just tell them, "Oh, guys, I've just done revenue. This is how it is." You know, everything that's happened, like, you know, just to make sure that I keep it interesting to them. And so they are much interested, and they are supporting. They are very supportive. Since that they know that what I'm doing is hectic. And one thing that I want to add on is that PGDA is challenging. It's a mental game. I agree with everybody that it's a mental game. But the most important thing is, how do you stay positive? And how do you recover from a setback? We just got our results yesterday. And I have a study buddy that I started with in Bridging. And I have a study group that I joined this year. So when we meet, I usually tell them that, you know what, whatever that comes, situations come and go. We got our results. We only have half a day or full day to recover and move on. We need to learn to move on, reflect and move on.
I like what you said
And
over there, because it's not just move on, it's also reflecting.
Yes, reflect and move on. It's very important, because if you don't reflect, you will never know where you went wrong. And reflecting is kind of revising in a way, because you have to go through your script, the mark plan, and you'll be like, oh my goodness, I could have got this right. That was a silly mistake. So reflection is very important after we get our test. It's not easy thing to do. It's not an easy thing to do. It's not an easy process to go through. And we need to keep moving. And most of the students will agree with me now. We are overwhelmed. That's what I can say. You know, sometimes you feel like, maybe I should just resign. They said, you know what, sometimes when people commit suicide, it's because of the pressure. Depression is not something to play with. Because with PGDA, it's easy to go into a depression. But you need to get somebody who's not studying. You need to get somebody who's studying. You need to use the support that is available. And there's the SSD support. It's not only a place where you can just discuss with them about your studies. It's a platform where you can be emotional. You know, you can just book a consult and talk to Nozi and say, Nozi, I'm going through a lot in my personal life. Maybe people might think that it's just maybe for study. No, it's not. Even the things that we go through, because everything that we go through in life, it affects our studies. And I am very grateful that we have the psychologist in the program. It's really helpful. Thank you,
Wonderful.
JD.
Thanks so much for sharing, Tiamo. It's great hearing. You know, I'm reminded of the diversity of students that have already completed the program with us, from young to old, parents, full-time working. Yeah, it's in our live sessions. I'm always amazed to just see, and it's also the diversity of students that within
Yes.
themselves can encourage each other and help each other
Yes.
along the journey, which I found really, really great.
And I'm in my
I would,
40s. We only learned
yeah,
yesterday that we have the youngest person in our study group, and she's more like almost half my age.
really.
So, so I was like, oh my goodness, am I that old? But being old, it doesn't mean that you can never go back and fulfill your dream. It doesn't matter at what
Yeah,
age. This is a personal
yeah,
journey. Whether you qualify at the age of 25, whether you qualify at the age of 50, what is important is you must fulfill your goal in life.
yeah. No, I take my hat off to you as well. I know you've had a tough journey, Tiamo, and for you, uh, and Kieran, I know you also picked it up again. It's not an easy thing to do. So it takes bravery, courage, and that. And really, you guys have done so well to not, in a sense, let go of that dream, but to come back and say, I'm gonna do this thing, and I'm gonna get what I really know I'm able to. And that's what we also, it's in Milpark's vision and mission thing, is that like we believe that there's this untapped potential that's out there, and we want to help people to realize the potential that they maybe don't realize that they have inside themselves on the journey with
JD,
us.
I unmuted myself there. Thanks very much, Tiamo, for sharing that and for making yourself so vulnerable. You know, JD, and then I think one of the things that's always like one of the, you know, the privileged part of being part of this particular journey is, I mean, you know, the students, you know, do the hard work, you know, put in all of the effort. But, you know, two things that always stand out is that one, I mean, you know, you're never too old to reach that point of self-actualization, actually, you know, and if you set your mind on it, you know, there's an opportunity for you, and the beauty of this particular program is that if you want to become a chartered accountant, there are options, and so, you know, this is an option for you here, actually. Secondly, also, I think, you know, often one of the sort of rewarding parts, you know, you know, of the particular program, one, and students from, you know, different journeys and different pathways that they've walked, as those, you know, amazing stories of, you know, students that have been successful in our PGDA in January, or in, you know, in our second sitting, so in May, go on then to pass the ITCU in January or July of that same year, go on to pass the APC in November of that year, and within a year are qualified chartered accountants. And, you know, your life can change, you know, within a year. You know, and that's the amazing part, you know, of this particular journey. Still gives me goosebumps, you know, just to see students thrive, you know, and succeed in this regard, and how things can change for you in a lifetime. I mean, we'll be real, and I mean, you know, Tiamo's made this point. It's not easy. It's hard. It's difficult sometimes, but you know, the short-term sacrifices, long-term goals, it's yours, and reaching that point of self-actualization at least. Sorry, thanks, JD.
Yeah, I
Thanks
mean,
for feeding in.
sorry, Riyad, if I could just jump in there. I mean, I'm 36. I got my undergraduate degree in 2014. And I tried CTA in like 2015, 2016, sort of half-hearted attempts. And I'd pretty much given up on the idea that I was ever going to, you know, go all the way. And I don't think, there wasn't the platform for me to actually even pursue it, and it was intimidating picking up books again. But I mean, I'm hoping to follow. I'm writing board in like a week, and I'm gonna hopefully do APC at the end of the year. So I mean, it's like a little bit surreal that it's happened. It's happened a lot quicker than I thought it was going to happen. But yeah, like I'm grateful because I don't think I could have done it. I think it's very valuable that there's a non-traditional path towards becoming a CA.
Oh, it's great to hear. And I mean, yeah, that's what we want to do. We want to give people options and flexibility in that they may not necessarily get elsewhere, but still provide a quality program and make sure you have all that you need for success in ITC and your career as a CA. We're going to go on a little bit longer beyond 6. There's a few questions that I'd like us just to delve into. There's some good questions that have been asked, which I think if we can spend a little bit of time on it may be useful. If you need to drop off, then please do. It's really been great just having a chat amongst colleagues, students and that. And yeah, but let's keep going a little bit. So the one question, and I am going to come back to you, Botlale, because yeah, there's something special I want to say about you. But the one question was this thing of because we're looking at now registrations for our July intake. If you register with us now, you can start your PGDA in July, either full workload or half workload. Now, Botlale and Tiamo, you guys started at the beginning of the year. So you are what we call the first intake of our year. Kieran, you started as our mid-year intake, and you wrote your exams now in April, it was. So Kieran, Trace, can you guys just feeding, because there was a question on like how does that impact the board exam? How does it impact your articles? Maybe Kieran, just some practicalities from you or Trace.
That, yeah. So students who write to join us in the mid-year intake and start the PGDA in July will write their exams in April, like Kieran did, and get results in May, and then you'll be eligible to write the first board exam in June next year. That will not be ITC, it will be known as IAC because SAICA is making changes to that exam, but the timing of that will be exactly the same. So your first attempt is the mid-year board exam, and then you can go on, as Rian and Kieran have mentioned, if you're successful in that and you've already completed your articles, you can go on to write APC in the same year. For students who have not yet completed their articles, you need to do that minimum requirement before you are eligible to write APC. But there's no delay for you in terms of being prepared and ready to move forward with writing your ITC if you're successful. If I may just go ahead, there have been quite a few questions about the half workload program and how that works, and I can quickly address those as well. I'm glad to see there's lots of interest in the half workload program. I think it is a wonderful option, and I really would consider everyone to think about it if you have limited time but you're keen to do the PGDA. The way that it is structured is that in year 1, you do management, accounting and finance and corporate governance and auditing. The thinking behind that is that those 2 subjects are those in which the legislation and the guidelines change less than for tax and financial reporting. And they also have a stronger emphasis in the ITC. And so by starting with them and making sure that those foundations are there, we're setting you up for success going forward. You do write the exams for management, accounting and finance and CGA, corporate governance and auditing at the end of that first year. And if you are successful in those, you move on to year 2. In year 2, you are doing financial reporting and taxation primarily, but you are also keeping up your knowledge of management, accounting and finance and corporate governance and auditing throughout that year. So you are allowed to write the assessments for those, but you don't have to throughout the year, the tests. But when it comes to the final exams, now you write all 4 of the subjects together in one sitting. And being successful in those exams, you then qualify to move on to the board exam. So the good thing about that is that it does reduce the hours required. We say 20 hours a week. Year 2 is maybe a little bit more like 25 hours a week because you're doing tax and financial reporting plus a little bit of keeping your knowledge going for the other 2 subjects. But it also is a way to spread the cost, because you only pay for 2 modules per year in year 1 and year 2. So it also makes it a little bit more affordable if that is something that you are considering as well. If you have any questions, I also just want to say we won't be able to answer all of the questions coming in, but you're welcome to email us. The email address is accounting@millpark.ac.za, and our team will be sure to give you the information that you're looking for in terms of applying. There's also lots on the CA Connect website, so be sure to have a look at that. There's an infographic there about half workload as well as the other options that we have discussed, and a fact sheet around a lot of the entrance criteria, recognition of prior learning, and a lot of the other questions that are coming through. So please don't feel that if your question hasn't been addressed that we're not going to answer you. There are plenty of ways for us to make sure that we do get to your question, and you can always reach out to us as well. Thanks.
Thanks, Trace. Kieran, do you want to feed anything in there on the mid-year start? I think Tracy covered it, but are you happy that you did the mid-year start? No problems your side?
I mean, it was one of my concerns when I was thinking of signing up. Was I thought to myself, oh, does this mean I'm only going to be writing board, in January? So with the idea that you wanted, what I think you want the information to be you want them to be as close together as possible, PGDA and writing ITC. So when I found out that actually, it's structured in such a way that you end and you get your results before you write ITC in June, that was a big positive for me, and that actually just sealed it in my mind.
Yeah, we try and make it as seamless as possible, and we know that your best chance of passing the ITC is when all of that knowledge is freshest in your mind for you to go into it. Yeah. Trace, you mentioned the website, so everybody applies on the CA Connect website. You go there, you apply. We've got quite a sophisticated application process. 2 things on that, Trace. You can come in, Nana, just on what the application close dates are on that, because that may be of interest just for us to say. But we do have other programs as well. So sometimes you apply for our PGDA, but you may not make the entrance requirements, and that's where the bridging program comes in. So you may then be recommended or suggested to you that you rather do the bridging program before to come into PGDA. Kieran, you did the bridging program. Jamal, did you do the bridging program? I think I also picked up on that. And yeah, so there are other programs. The focus of this discussion is the PGDA, though. Bridging program, highlights, slice and dice the same, half workload or full. And you can basically do the bridging program in 6 months, though, if you wanted to. So half workload is over a year, or full workload over 6 months, where you do everything. Trace, from an application close date, how much time do those who are eager?
Sure. I would encourage anyone who's interested to get the application in as quickly as possible. The next bridging program begins on the 8th of July, and the next PGDA begins on the 15th of July. And so it's less than a month away for both of them. I've seen some questions about when registrations close. I would strongly recommend that you get registered before the start of the program. It's very difficult to catch up, if you start late, because the volume of, each week does build, that 40 or 20 hours. So if you miss 2 weeks now, you're 80 hours behind. It very quickly becomes too much to kind of catch up on. And so I'd encourage everyone to get on board as quickly as possible. That being said, applications will be open for a short time following the start of the program, and registrations as well will be open for a little bit just to help those who are kind of getting through the process. But I strongly encourage you, as I said, to get registered and to get on board as quickly as you can. We've noticed that has a big impact on students' ability to be successful in the program. Bear in mind that the bridging program, we talk about it being a 6-month program, but that's 6 months from the beginning of the program to the release of results. So the actual meat of the program takes place in 4 months, and there are 12 teaching weeks. And so if you're 1 or 2 weeks late, that's quite a significant part of the program that's already elapsed. So particularly for the bridging program, I encourage you to get registered as quickly as possible. We do have tighter deadlines in terms of close of registration for that program as a result. And if you're uncertain as to whether you are eligible for the PGDA or for the bridging program, and you're not sure which one to apply for, I encourage you to have a look at the entrance requirements, which you'll find on our website, and see what is appropriate and applicable to you. You can also send us an email if you're wanting to get some more information, and a reminder, accounting@millpark.ac.za for that. But if you're unsure, I encourage you to apply for the PGDA, because the application model that is going to process your application will determine if you're eligible for the PGDA, and if not, it will then evaluate your eligibility for the bridging program. And so if you've applied for PGDA but are eligible for bridging, that's a much easier process for us to take you through, rather than if you've applied for bridging and now you change your mind and you decide you actually want to go for PGDA, that becomes a lot more tricky. So just a little pro tip there on that side.
Great, thank you. Well, you're starting the tips, because I'd like to end with a few tips as we go around. So Kieran, Chiamo, and Botlale, you can start thinking about what would your number one advice be to prospective students who may be considering where to study, or what their next step should be. Should they take the plunge into PGDA? And while you guys are all thinking, Botlale, I believe you do have quite a bit of free time, because you're a TikToker, right? So do you want to tell us just a little bit about your TikToking?
So I am, as you all know, I've done my undergraduate. I'm currently doing CTA with Moore Park, also serving my articles. I'm very passionate about helping people and letting people know about the CA journey. Just the like extra details that not a lot of people know about, and also working and studying, having to balance being a good student and also being a good employee. So I decided to create a TikTok account where I share knowledge about the accounting industry, studying part-time, like the sacrifices that you need to make in order to push through. And so that's what my TikTok is about. And also in terms of CTA, last year I wasn't studying, so I was going on asking people where can I. We don't have a lot of options when it comes to doing CTA part time, so I really had to do my research, because CTA is a very very important year. I mean, it determines whether you write the board course and the board exam, and it also prepares you for that. So I asked different people, what was your experience? What do you think about Moore Park? Applied. I asked, can I please have the plan? What's going to happen? Like, I need to prepare myself, because this is a very important year. So that's what my TikTok is about. It's about the CA journey. Yeah, I think it's very important that people know what it takes to become a chartered accountant. And I'm also on that journey, also learning as I go, and also trying to adjust to that. But what made me choose Mo Park is that, like I said, I heard from people that it's a really good institution. Like, I feel like when you guys sat down and you're like, you know what, let's create something that really supports students like me, people who are working and studying, people who are trying to find the balance between working and studying, and people who also don't have a lot of time. Let us create this program, this structure that assists students and also supports them, mentally, because PGDA is a very it's very like mentally, like, you need to be very strong for that. So I think it's honestly just a very good program, and accommodating for different kind of students who haven't studied in a very long time, or students who are coming from in very different institutions and starting from scratch and being like, yes, you did your undergrad, but let's start from scratch. Let's start this topic from scratch. Let us learn together. So I think that's honestly why I chose Mill Park. I didn't want to feel alone on this journey, and I don't feel alone at all.
That's awesome. Thank you. And you have shared your handle your TikTok handle in the chat, or that. What do you want to tell
Yes,
everybody?
I have. Thank you.
Okay, great. Sorted. So, Tiamo, you're in it at the moment, but 6 months ago
Yeah.
you were where many of these are watching. What's your top tip? What did your top tip?
Okay. With Mill Park, I heard about Mill Park from my colleague after I spent many years without studying. I think I was plus minus 6 to 8 years. I took a break, that long break. So one day my colleague approached me and said, I've registered with Mill Park. Do you want to try it? I was like, no, man, I don't think so. And then he passed his briefing. That's when I developed interest in Mill Park. What is this Mill Park? How do you learn in a Mill Park? What is it? What is it all about? So he was kind enough to take me through what the course is all about. And then I developed interest from there. I registered with Mill Park, and I don't regret to this day that I chose Mill Park. After trying to do my CTA in my article, yes, I did CTA with various institutions, but I couldn't because this thing of we have to attend lectures and we have to work full time, it didn't work. So with Mill Park, it's very flexible. You can learn at your own time, at your own pace, and life happens in between. One thing about Mill Park is, you can set up a plan for yourself, and if you fall behind, it's your responsibility to catch up. So I would say Mill Park is the best institution. And I really love studying with Mill Park, and I enjoy each and every moment, though it's challenging, but it's a very interesting journey of self-discovery as well. Because you must
Great.
manage your own time. The lecturers are not managing our time. You must be disciplined. You must learn to be resilient at the same time.
Yeah, no, we will give you everything you need for success, but we won't give you the assessments or the solutions in advance. And you need to get what you need to into your brain so that you can be ready and prepared. But Lale and Tiamo, I have no doubt that you are going to be successful in your PGDA, just based on what you've been saying over here as well. So I look forward to celebrating at your guys' graduations come 2025 when you have come through on the other side. So looking forward to that. I was just reminded of another thing. If you come into our program or a PGDA and you believe in yourself and you can make the time that is needed and you can be disciplined. For me, those are the 3 keys to success. We'll give you everything else that you need. You just need to make the time available. You need to be disciplined, and you need to be confident and believe in yourself. Our CEO was also a former teacher on our program. Andrew Orsford used to say that he believes up to 50% of being successful in PGDA has to do with your belief and confidence in yourself. And I tend to agree with him. I would select that if that was a multiple choice answer and you asked me. Kieran, your top tip.
I think I'd have to agree with you. Discipline, that's like the big thing. So if you're kind of on the fence, figure out the reasons why this is what you want to do. What I try to remind myself is the reason why it's so valuable to have a PGDA and why it's so valuable to be a CA is because it's difficult and not everyone can do it. So that, like, that kind of motivated me. But if you're gonna do it, you've got to commit to it fully. It's one you'll get through on the little steps that you take, not in the it's a bit by bit. It's a process, and also it'll be over sooner than you realize, which is a relief.
It flies by. You can say this too shall pass, right? This too shall pass. It's about perseverance and enduring as you go through. The one thing I mentioned at the beginning is that our program is built with this thing of time is not just in abundance. Time is a constraint for many, many people. So the focus on the margin is like, well, how can we best support a time constrained student? If somebody's time constrained, how can we best support them? And the one thing where students often trip up, and we also very much focus on this thing, is that we just want to see you demonstrate that you are competent. We believe that you're competent. You just need to demonstrate to us that you're competent. You don't need to be perfect. And a lot of people put this thing on themselves in PGDA and on the journey towards trying to become a chartered accountant, is that you have to be perfect. I think it starts in accounts 1, where your balance sheet still balances. But as you go on, you realize that your balance sheet is not always going to balance when you're writing an assessment. But as long as you get most of the things right, it's okay if your balance sheet doesn't balance, as long as you've demonstrated competence. Are you okay with what I said there, Trace? Because I know you are very much in financial reporting and that. So you're okay if your balance sheet doesn't balance. Use a suspense account. Oh, great. It's been a great discussion. We've covered a lot of bases about our program, flexibility, structure, support in the academic domain, as well as the psychosocial and non-academic support in that as well, that there are, and the connected learning community environment that we really try and facilitate and have amongst our students. So thank you very much to you all for joining us. Thank you to our entire panel. It's been a great discussion. You've all added great value, given great advice. And Kieran, well done on your success in PGDA. Excellent, and all the best for RTC next week. Give it your best and smash it just like you did PGDA. We believe in you and all of our other Molpark writers. And then Botlale and Tiamo, you can do this. It's test 3, it's test 4, and then it's final exams, and then you're right where Kieran is now. So keep going, and we know you can do this. Great. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.